Hey, you rates. So today I thought I'd just jump right to the practice to help you out. So I've taken a snippet of the practice. So here's your practice for today. It builds off of what we did the other day, where I talked about types of data, censuses, secondary sources, primary sources, and so all this builds off of that. And that's where all of this kind of comes from today. I'm going to look at a couple of questions. I'm sorry that my tools are kind of in the way here, so I'm just going to move that over. So for this question, you're going to look at and figure out is an observation, a sample, or a census the most appropriate way to collect data on each of the following. So our first one is the arrival times of trains at Central Station during a day. So it's best to collect that data using an observation, a sampling, or a census. Because with this question during the day, it would not be a crazy use of time. It would be reasonable for someone to sit for a day, and you could probably be able to do that through observation. So it'd be possible to do this through observation. That would be an easy thing to do. You could easily do that within the day, observe throughout the day, and then you'd be able to kind of accomplish that and be done. And that would not be hard to do. For the second example, the arrival times of trains at Central Station over the entire year. So the practicality of sitting for an entire year and observing every single train going through the station is not very practical. It's not very possible. Obviously, for all 365 days to do that, it's not going to be the easiest thing to do. So the first thing you do is you could easily do a sampling. And so you could pick certain days and then sample. You could be able to pick certain days and choose those as your data to represent the year. You might want to choose some weekdays and some weekends and be able to do that. You could use observation, and that is definitely very possible. You could use an observation for primary source, collecting yourself. You could also do, you could use train schedules, historical records for secondary source data from the train company, because they would have records of all of the train schedules. If you want to look at if the trains were mostly on time or not on time, you could collect that yourself, or again, you could probably collect that from the train company themselves as secondary source data or records. All right, so next one, the height of the students in our class. Well, this would be pretty easy to do, and we could actually do this using a census. Now, remember that a census doesn't mean the entirety of absolutely everybody in Australia. A census is everybody in that specific population. Our specific population we're talking about is our class. So we would be able to do this using a census of a class. One caveat would be, it'd be tricky because you need a day where everybody's there, but you could definitely use a census to be able to do that. Census. So that would be definitely very easy to get using a census. You would just wait for one day and collect the height of everybody in class. You just need to have everybody there. So the heights of all year 7 students in a school. So that's going to get to be a little bit trickier because you need a day to have all the students there. You need to have the time to measure them all. So what you might be able to do there is, instead of using a complete census, you could use a sampling. And you could grab a sampling of a random number of students. You can pick, a portion. You can pick an even balance of boys and girls. And that would be kind of what you would do in terms of the sampling and some of the considerations you'd want to do in sampling. You'd probably have to primarily use primary source data to do this and collect it yourself. It's not like we keep the record as a school of what each one of the students' heights are. And the other problem with if we had that data is that data would reflect the data on the measurement day. So for example, if we collected at the start of the year, you guys are growing. So that data would probably be no longer accurate if we were collecting that in November. So you'd probably want to use primary source data for that. All the schools in New South Wales. So again, using a census and collecting that data from every single student in the entire country or state of New South Wales would be very difficult to do. So we would again use sampling. We would pick probably a certain number of students from different areas, make sure we have equal representation of gender. You might try to do equal distribution of sampling across the entire state, both rural, regional, and urban in Sydney, in Newcastle, but you'd want to use a sample for that as well. And that would be something that you could probably even do digitally for using primary source data as well. So that would be some help and some of the thinking you want to put into doing these examples. So I've kind of walked through how to do these. That's it's pretty straightforward. you just have to think about it and apply reasoning and kind of explain why. So you see with each one of these, I've given you the details and I've also provided some reasoning for each one of them. So I hope that helps you out. So the practice is pretty straightforward, and I'll post some of the answers as well just to help you out. But do include reasoning, and that is kind of the difference between the one word answers and just kind of complete answers, including reasoning. Hope you guys are doing well. Take care.